are Wooten alums. So I wanted to take just a moment to introduce myself. My name is Nick Higgins. I am the 11th grade administrator here at Wooten this year, and I was the 10th grade administrator last year. And I've actually been at Wooten for quite some time. I was an English teacher for several or many years before that. I've also been the head of the English department at Wooten, and believe it or not, you are in good company because I'm also a Wooten alum. So this is a true Wooten alum night, right? And so I'm a little bit more removed from college than these ladies are, but I can, go ahead and answer questions as well. So real quickly, I did want to mention that if you want to move around here tonight and go in and out of other breakout rooms. There are 2 other breakout rooms, and you should be able to go and come at your leisure to the other breakout rooms if you're interested there. And I will also tell you that the PTSA is recording all of tonight's program, all 3 of the different rooms that we are in. So if you do want to view some of the conversation in the other rooms, you will be able to do that on the recording, which I believe will be available on the PTSA's YouTube channel, as well as being sent out via email. So tonight's program is essentially a chance for parents and students, I believe we have some students on the line too, to hear a little bit from some Wooten alum and recent graduates, all about their college experience. And I think, I anticipate hearing a little bit about how Wooten has prepared or not prepared you for the college experience as well. And so if you have a question, please feel free to type it in the chat. Please feel free to unmute yourself and go ahead and ask. I also have a few questions up my sleeve that I'm curious about as well. But before we get to any questions, I did want the panelists to be able to introduce themselves. And I'm going to go ahead and just kind of go through my own list. I think it's in alphabetical order, but I did want to ask each of the panelists to introduce themselves. And when you introduce yourselves, I would love it if you would give me your name, when you graduated from Wooten, and then your major if you have one, the school that you go to, and let's see something fun. I don't know, your favorite moment from this semester. PG moment from this semester, because we have parents and students on the line. So your favorite moment from school this semester. All right. So again, I want your name, when you graduated from Wooten, your major, your school, and your favorite memory here from this semester at college. All right. So Abbie, we will start with you. Go ahead.
Hi everyone, I'm Abbie Hennessy. I graduated a few years ago. I graduated back in 2019, and I'm a junior at Virginia Tech studying industrial and systems engineering. And my favorite part this semester is probably getting back to see football, because Virginia Tech is very big with football and the atmosphere is great. So it's a lot of fun getting back into the stadium and being in person for that. So.
Thanks so much, Abbie. And I will say also, I'm a University of Maryland graduate, so we got a big football game coming up pretty soon there, don't we? We'll make a bet after the discussion, if that's cool with you. One of our panelists, Anna, was having a bit of internet trouble, so she might drop back in and join us, but she was spotty, I think, going into it. So we are going to move on to Nastaran. Nastaran, go ahead and introduce yourself, please.
Hi everyone, I'm Nastaran. I was part of the class of 2021 at Wooten, and I currently attend Yale. I'm a freshman at Yale. I'm planning on double majoring in statistics and data science and economics. And I think my favorite memory this semester was probably just all the times that I got bubble tea with my sweet.
Very nice, thank you, Nastaran. And I will say, data science right now, I feel like is the booming thing to study. I have a lot of friends who just went back to grad school and studied data science, and they're getting fancy jobs and moving all over the country. So that's nice and exciting. Thank you. And Rachel, go ahead and introduce yourself, please.
Hi, I'm Rachel Sun. I'm also part of the class of 2021, and I am currently a freshman at Georgetown. I'm majoring in healthcare management and policy with a minor in econ. And my favorite moment from this semester would probably be like that sigh of relief that came over me after I took my finals.
Excellent. Thank you all very much. So at this point, I do want to open the floor for questions. And again, please feel free, if you are in the audience listening, to type a question into the chat, and we can go ahead and read it out loud for the good of the group. And we can go through, and each of the former Wooten students can go ahead and answer. Also, feel free to unmute yourself as well. That's just fine. So while everybody is formulating some questions or getting the nerve to unmute or what have you, I can go ahead and start. I would love to know, and this is like such a former teacher question, but I would love to know if there are certain classes that you three took at Wooten that you feel prepared you very well for the college experience. And this can really be anything and everything that you took at Wooten. If there are some classes, because again, I think probably a lot of what we have here is our parents of current Wooten students or current Wooten students. And right now is the time where we all kind of figure out some classes for next year. And so I was wondering if either of you three had some suggestions or some reflections about some classes that really helped to prepare you. And I guess I'll say, also, it doesn't have to be just limited to classes. If you participated in extracurricular activities or were members of clubs or other organizations that you feel kind of got you ready for the college experience, I think we would love to hear it. I'm not going to necessarily call on anybody, so go ahead and unmute it. But we would love to hear from all three of you.
I can go first if you guys don't mind. So one thing, I mean, as for me, I know the curriculum has kind of changed since I've left. But when I was there, this is actually a class that I wish I took that would have helped me prepare. But I think they have to take it now. But I didn't take physics during my time at Wooten, and that would have helped me a lot because I had to take physics for my major, for my engineering major, and I just felt so behind, and because everyone else had already taken physics. So I would say physics is a good class to take, especially if you're going into the science classes, science majors. But another class that I did take that I think was really helpful was the AP English classes. So then I was able to get those credits out of the way, and I didn't have to take an English my freshman year. So.
And I am just going to pipe up really quickly because I did used to be an English teacher, and I did teach one of those AP English classes, and I would get students all the time that had graduated emailing me back and telling me how much they did appreciate the Wooten English classes. I'm just putting in the plug for the English department right now because I know that's close to my heart. But I do think that all of the AP classes at Wooten really do provide some of that college level learning and rigor. Sorry, I didn't want to step on any toes. Rachel, Nastaran, go ahead.
Okay, I guess. Oh, Rachel, do you want to go ahead?
Go ahead.
Okay. Thank you. Yeah, I totally agree with the English classes, especially for me. I took AP Lang with Miss Ho, and it was like probably one of my favorite classes ever. I just feel like I learned so much about how to become a better writer, and especially like for those college apps, like that's like very important. I've really just enjoyed all of the AP Science classes I took at Yale. Sorry, not Yale, at Wooten. Yeah, like I really liked AP Physics, especially with Dr. Hirsch. I don't think I've ever taken like a class that challenging before, and it really it made me get like a really deep appreciation for a subject that I never thought I would really like. I also really enjoyed the math department at Wooten. Probably the BC calculus and multivariable calculus were like two of the best classes that I've taken at Wooten. And I am actually taking MVC at Yale in my first semester right now. So taking that class in senior year definitely helps me like not stress about it as much now, just because I already like know a good chunk of it. As for clubs and extracurricular activities, I think the activity that really defined my high school experience was Model UN. I think it really helped me become like a more confident speaker. It really helped me get a lot of skills that I think I like used in my interviews and just like in interacting with people every day. And yeah, it was definitely like, I would definitely recommend it to anyone.
Yeah, going off of that, I think it's a little bit difficult to say like exactly what courses helped because it truly depends on your major. Like physics definitely helps engineering, the AP sciences definitely help students that are pre-med. But something for me personally, just like a more broader class would probably be the like AP Gov or AP History classes because they kind of teach you in a format similar to a lot of your classes in college in the sense that you'll be doing a lot of like note taking, a lot of studies that are directly applicable to like everyday life, and I think those classes gave you a good sneak peek into what you would be pursuing in school. So
Thank you three very much. I do appreciate it. We do have a question that has been typed into the chat, and I'm sure it's one that's on a lot of people's minds right now, and I think will probably be part of the college experience for at least a little while, at least next year for sure. But the question is based on your experience, how did COVID affect the college admission? So things like testing scores and number of college you applied to, extracurricular activities. I know a lot of colleges right now, for example, and Rachel and Nastaran, I don't know if you want to speak to this, but are like test optional colleges when you apply. So can you all, and I also think that probably going along with that, folks in the audience here are interested in hearing how COVID has affected actual classes at your respective universities too. So could we start with the admissions process and how COVID has affected that?
Yeah. So for me, I actually was really lucky because I did all of my testing like the December before that March where everything changed. But I do have a lot of friends who go to school with me who like didn't submit test scores. And I think just the fact that a lot of colleges have gone test optional has really made essays more important. Like I think the college admissions teams at all the schools really care about like your life experiences and like what kind of things you've taken away from them. And so I think like there's definitely a lot of like focus on like your essays, and that's where I would probably recommend most people to focus on. Yeah, that's my answer for the admissions process.
I know from my personal experience as well, just like Nostron, I was really lucky to have like finished testing before things got kind of crazy. But from my experience with friends, a lot of them either did have to drive like states over to go take the SAT if like it wasn't offered here and things like that, which was really crazy. But the essays are a big part as well. I know that for Georgetown in particular, they took AP scores in place of like your SAT 2s or the regular SATs. So in terms of just the college admission process, it's, I think, important to just stay on top of your school studies as well, even if you can't get on top of the other testing, because schools may take things like AP scores in place of like standardized testing.
And Abbie, you might have missed the, I was going to say, you might have missed the admissions part, but could you speak a little bit to how COVID is kind of affects the day-to-day life over there at Virginia Tech?
Yeah, so I did graduate. I graduated in 2019. So thankfully, I missed. I got my senior year, and then I'm not really caught up with all the COVID restrictions on testing and stuff. But COVID did hit end of my freshman year. But as far as classes go, so most of all of last year, my sophomore year in college, was just completely online. And I know there's not really a lot we can do with that, but it's just, at least for me, I'm not really a good online person learning. And I was really struggling. I was taking numerous credits. But when that happens, I would be stuck in my apartment all day. So I would just find any excuse I could to go to the library to do some work or go somewhere else to do some work, and that really helped clear my mind. But this semester I've been back in person for a few classes, which is nice. But at least for me personally, it's been tough with the online. I just don't do well with that, so I'm glad we're starting to get back in person.
And then Nastaran, Rachel, how are things in COVID land in your respective universities?
You go.
Okay. Yeah, so I mean, there's definitely like a lot of precautions in place to make sure that we're all being really safe. Like at Yale, we have to get COVID tested twice a week, which is a lot. But like definitely they're able to like detect cases like right away, and they have like special dorms where people, you know, like quarantine for 2 weeks if they do test positive. So I honestly feel like very safe on campus just because like I know that the school is taking it really seriously. And with the rise in like Omicron cases, they actually ended up making all of our finals like online. So they definitely do take it like really seriously. All of my classes were in person, but we were all like masked and like sitting apart. Yeah, there's definitely like quite a big like impact that COVID has had on like, you know, the regular college life. But I feel like things are like hopefully slowly returning to normal. Like we go to the libraries, you know, we just have to wear a mask everywhere. And I think it's like a pretty good balance of like, you know, staying safe while things are still kind of like normal and we're able to still do a lot of activities that they weren't really able to do last year when it was all online.
Georgetown's kind of on like a hybrid kind of situation. So some of our classes will be in person and a lot of them will be virtual. So big lectures such as classes for like economics or like bio or chem with upwards of like 100 people will always be virtual. But classes that are smaller, like 20, 30 people will be in person. And I think the policies are similar in the sense that masks are required everywhere. It's just a little bit difficult to, I guess, learn in a setting where you're like kind of on campus, you're at college, but you're not necessarily in these classes yet because you're virtual. So that's been a little bit difficult to navigate, but that's currently what it looks like.
Something else that I like just thought of, like one of my classes, my intro micro class actually has like 600 people in it. So like it's like a really, really, really big lecture, and it is in person, but there's it's also live streamed. So I know like me and a lot of other people just like don't necessarily feel comfortable attending because especially like in the fall, like everyone was sick at some point. Not COVID, but like just sick in general. So like there's always for a lot of classes the option of just like staying in your room and watching it there if you're more comfortable with that.
All right, so while we're on the subject of kind of how COVID is affecting daily life, I'm also interested to know, and I think probably the folks here are too, kind of just what it's like in a day in the life of a college student. I'm interested in things like what time you wake up in the morning, if you live in the dorms, if you live in the if in an off-campus housing or an apartment or something like that, what dining hall is like, how the social scene is, you know, what specific classes are like, all that. I'm interested to just get a little sense of how you feel a day in the life of a college student is.
Well, at least for me, I am not a morning person. So if I don't have class in the morning, I'm not getting up until later. But it's been tough kind of meeting people with COVID because at least I was able to have our first semester at least just before COVID. So I was able to meet people then. But then last year it was hard because I was completely online and I didn't know anyone because I was getting more into my major, into my specific major, and I didn't really know anyone in my major, and so that was a bit tough. But I'm happy that we're getting back to hybrid, in person, or streaming. But yeah, I mean, for me, I usually have the most I probably have is 3 classes a day, and it's a lot different from high school. It seems so weird to me that I used to go 7 or 8 straight hours of just classes and work, but now I'd have a few hours in between my classes or just one class a day. So that's really nice, but you also have to be careful with that with time management, because you do have a lot more time on your hands. And I mean, I'm still a big procrastinator, but you do have to kind of work with your time and do as much work as you can whenever you can. So
for me personally, something that I realized along with a lot of my other friends is that classes before 10 a.m. are a little bit difficult to get to because waking up is kind of hard when you don't have to be at school at like 7:45 every day. But the most class that I've had in a day is 4, which is kind of intense because they were kind of back to back. So it did kind of feel like high school in that sense, where it's just like work after work. But you have a lot of freedom to make your schedule look the way that you would want it to and what works best for your personal preferences. I think COVID has made it really difficult to make friends in the sense that a lot of the times you would make friends in your lectures, but that's a little bit hard because the lectures are virtual now, a lot of them. So that's been hard, but you meet a lot of them through, I would say, like the smaller classes that you have or just people within your major, and getting to meet them through events that your major like maybe has or like your particular school has. The dining hall we have one dining hall because Georgetown's a little bit of a smaller school, so that's always a social hub for people because you always go and you see half the school there at the same time. So
for me, my earliest class on Mondays and Wednesdays and Fridays is 10:30, and then on Tuesdays and Thursdays is 11:35. So I actually like sleep in like a lot, like probably until like 15 minutes before class starts, because my classes are like across the street from where my dorm is. So yeah, usually like I wake up around that time and then I go to class, grab lunch. Yale is kind of cool in the sense that we have like 14 different what we call residential colleges. It's kind of like a little microcosm of the whole school. Like we're all kind of like, I don't know how to describe it. It's kind of like the Harry Potter houses in a way, but there's 14 of them, and we all have our own like dining hall, and like library, gym, everything. So I usually just eat in my dining hall, but you are free to eat wherever. And then usually like I'm at the library after my classes are over. The libraries are open until, like the big libraries on campus are open until 2 a.m. and the ones in our colleges are open 24/7. So like if you want to be studying, if you're like a night owl and want to be studying late, there's always like a place for you to go to. Yeah, I really like the social scene at Yale. I think it's very much like people work really hard, but they also like know when it's time to take a step back and just like have fun with friends. I really like that like we have like a little suite, and like we have like a common room, and then each of us like has our own room. I definitely feel like I'm getting to know like a lot of people even with COVID. I really like how like because of COVID, everyone just really wants to be making friends. So everyone is super approachable and really nice. And like it's been really nice getting to know a lot of like really good friends.
Great, thank you.
Add on to that real quick. Sorry. As I think last time I checked, Virginia Tech is actually rated number 2 in terms of like food and dining halls. So we've got a lot of great food. We've got hibachi, we've got a buffet, all you can eat buffet. We've got places that are open late, like till 2 a.m. I think there's a place where you can get like a lobster or something. I've never actually been there, but I've heard about it. So it's a lot of fun. I love it.
Got to get me on. When I come visit, you got to get me on your car. We can go for lobster, okay, Abbie? And so I'm hearing also I think that there's a lot of flexibility with regards to schedule, with regards to social time, with regards to sleep, with regards to food as well. That's nice. So we do have several questions here that are coming into the chat, both to everybody and also just directly to me. So I'm going to go in order that I've received them. So we have someone wondering for acceptance, what part of your application package made the biggest difference in terms of extracurricular activities? And a follow-up to that is, do participation in sports make a difference to you all or not. Anybody care to take a stab at it?
Yeah, so at least for Virginia Tech, they are really big on service and leadership. So I really have to try and focus on that in my applications. So I would say if you can get anything with and I'm sure this is the same with all colleges, but any other extracurriculars or leadership positions in those extracurriculars, I would definitely say go for it because colleges really do look for that. And those are a lot of the questions on the applications, like what have you done for leadership? What have you done outside of your school? Because they want to see that you're not just focused. I mean, you should be focused obviously on school, but they want to see that you're putting work into other things as well. And that's very important.
I think something adding on to that is the idea of being like a well-rounded person, I think is something that they look for. And I think something that was told to me a lot in my process was to make sure that I was doing things that I really cared about and things that I was passionate about. And when it comes to the application process, like that makes things a lot more easier because when you do things that you really care about, you'll naturally, like put more time and effort into those things. And you may end up in a leadership position, or it would be really easy to write an essay about something that you really care about. So that would be my recommendation. And I don't know how big sports are in particular to like each school, but I do think that it shows, I think, like teamwork and time management because practices take up like a lot of your time, and balancing that may be difficult. So I think it's never a bad idea to play sports, I think.
Yeah, so I think for me, like similarly, I guess, a lot of the activities that I chose to do were things that I was like really, really passionate about. And I know that everyone kind of goes into high school being like, I have to do everything and I have to like, apply to all the honor societies, and like be involved in absolutely everything. But as I was getting like closer to my junior and senior year, I was like, I don't think this is like really helpful for me. Like I want to just focus in on like 2 or 3 things that I really, really care about. I also think like there's a lot of opportunities that you can get involved in, like even just outside of like extracurriculars. Something that I think like was really something that I was really passionate about that I did outside of school was like research with a professor, and you can just kind of do that by like emailing professors whose like research you're interested in, like at UMD or just like any college. So like it was really nice for me to like kind of get involved in those kinds of like advanced research that I would probably only have been able to do as an undergrad. And I think that gave me like a lot of really valuable experience that I was able to, kind of show on my college application. Also, again, like a lot of the Wooten clubs are just really, really good clubs to be a part of, like Science Olympiad, Model UN, any of those like competitive academic clubs. I think they're kind of actually like similar to sports in a way because, you learn how to work as a team, you learn how to be a leader, and all of those things together are what like build your character and ultimately make you, be a person that not just like colleges like want to have in their college, but just a person who's like good and contributes to society.
Excellent, thank you. You all are full of fantastic advice and really thoughtful reflection, so I really, really appreciate it. I also got a question that was just to me, so everybody didn't see it, but we have someone wondering about are there any good computer programming programs at either of your 3 colleges and universities? Can you talk a little bit about the computer programming scene over there?
I can start because I think that Georgetown might have the least amount of computer programming programs. I have met, I think, 2 computer programming or computer science majors. The program exists, but I don't think that it's very big, so I don't think I can speak to that.
So I think Virginia Tech is a very STEM-based school. I do see a lot of CS majors. I personally don't know any of the classes or anything. As far as like programming and stuff, I have had to take a few programming classes. I know in high school I did do some coding, but the language that I did in my sophomore year was Python, and there's a lot of different languages. So I think it really depends on what your major requires you to take.
I think Yale, similar to Georgetown, is probably not the best at computer science, but I know that they've been like investing a lot of money into those departments. So usually what actually happens with computer science classes at Yale is like they team up with uh, someone at Harvard, and like the Harvard professor and the Yale professor together will teach the class. So I guess that kind of shows that like Yale isn't really able yet to do those kinds of things on their own, but like they're getting there. Um, I think it's definitely really valuable though, even if you're not like in a STEM major, to have some experience with computer science. Like I know that I did a lot of Python when I was in high school, and I also took like AP Computer Science Principles, which like was like a nice introduction to like Java and stuff. But I know for like a lot of like research and like even like the social sciences like econ, they kind of expect you to know like languages like R, which I don't really know yet. So now I have to like, you know, take classes for it, and like I'm not really ready to like start researching right away. Whereas a lot of people who like had those kinds of experiences in high school with like a lot of different programming languages are kind of able to like jump straight in. And like I know a lot of people think that computer science is only for the sciences, but there's also like a really big like digital humanities industry right now, and it's really I think like a really important skill to have for everyone to know how like at least basic coding.
And as I said, I am a University of Maryland alum, and I do know that the Maryland computer science and specifically the programming field is tip top over there. They're pretty solid. We also have a question. If you all remember, how many AP classes did you take while you were at Wooten? And then I think this is a great follow-up question. How would you compare your workload at Wooten in your junior or senior year that is compared to your workload as a freshman in college?
So my junior year was a lot heavier, and I think everyone's is, because at that point you're doing a lot of different tests. You're taking SATs, ACTs, and worrying about all that stuff. And then senior year, it was actually pretty easy for me because I was taking dual enrollment, and I highly suggest doing dual enrollment because then you can get ahead in your credits, and it kind of gives you the college experience of you only have these classes like 3 or 2 times a day or a week. So I think that was very beneficial to me. My freshman year, I think it was a pretty heavy load. It kind of dips for me at least because my freshman year was medium, and then my sophomore year was very heavy. I took 19 credits last semester, and now this semester I'm taking like 15 to 16. So it's definitely work, but I think it's, since you have more time, it's a bit easier than when we had high school and you had homework in every class due every day. So.
For me, I think in high school, I think I took 10 APs, and junior through senior year, I think I took 4 or 3 each year. And I would say that the workload, Wooten does a really good job of preparing you for college in the sense that it teaches you like time management, and also it teaches you rigor, because I think you are challenged to be a really good student at Wooten, and that's equally as important in college. So I would say, although the workload may be heavier in college, it's not anything that that's like out of the ordinary for somebody from that graduates from Wooten, because you're used to putting in the effort and balancing multiple things.
Yeah, I think I took 11 AP classes at Wooten, and a lot of them I think actually really prepared me like really really well for college. Like I said, like the English classes were super helpful, and the math classes and physics classes. I would say that Wooten does prepare you really, really well for college, but I am still like, I think I have a lot more work now than I did even in like junior and senior year at Wooten. Even taking into account like the extra work of doing college apps, I would probably say like it's a little bit like a different kind of stress, because I think at Wooten you had assignments like on a regular basis, like you've had a lot like every day, whereas in college it's more like you don't have as many assignments, but they're a lot bigger and they're like 25% of your grade. So it's a lot more stressful because like all of them have to be really, really good. And because they're kind of like, they're more spaced out in terms of like when they're due, but that also like, I think Wooten prepared me really well because like I learned like not to procrastinate, but if you do procrastinate, then and you leave like an assignment that is like a 12-page paper that's 30% of your grade, you leave it until the night before, and then it's probably going to be really stressful for you that night. So I think Wooten was really helpful in terms of like teaching me a lot of time management skills. But still, like I think everyone should be prepared for college being like a little bit more challenging, obviously.
Could you all tell us a little bit about the essay topics that you wrote for your college applications?
So I can't remember the actual question itself. But I'm actually an identical twin. She's in one of the other rooms. She goes to UMD. And I focused on that. I think I talked about how I started with kind of like a story to kind of bring the person in, as Mr. Hitchens taught me. And then I talked about like how we kind of push each other to be better, and I've always been competitive because of her. So I think that was one of my essay topics. I can't remember the others.
I remember. Sorry. Something that I wrote about quite often was a program that I made in terms of because something that I knew going into college was that I wanted to study something related to healthcare. So I made sure that all of my essays reflected that topic, and I wrote about this program that I made and how that fueled and like represented what I really wanted to study and what I was passionate about.
Yeah, so for my Common App essay, I really wanted it to be about me, like as a person, and not really like just like about like my values and like who I am and what I believe in. Just because like the advice that I heard was that your activities section, you know, is there, like you talk about your activities, and then your supplements, like school specific supplements, are where we should talk more about your activities, and your Common App should be like about what you're passionate about, or like what like kind of like what your character is like. So I talked in my Common App about I was actually in like a car accident when I was a kid, and I talked about how like that affected me because I lost like some of my family there, and like I kind of talked about what I learned from that in the and I wrote a lot about like my aunt who was in that accident, and like all the things that like kind of she believed in that like I believe in now that I'm at the age where like she was in that accident. I was like really proud of that essay. I think it was like a really like good way to like show just colleges like what kind of person I am, what are the things I believe in, and like what do I want to do with like what kind of an impact do I want to have on the world. And then for my supplements, I wrote about like the research that I did. I wrote about like so my family has like moved around a lot and like to like a lot of different countries. This is like the fifth country that I'm living in now. So I wrote about like how it feels to like you know constantly like be moving to different places and like what I've learned from each of them. So like it was definitely more like my Common App was like about me, and then my supplements were more about like the activities that I did and like the things I was passionate about.
Thank you all. We also have a question about dual enrollment. Nastaran and Rachel, did either of you participate in dual enrollment as well? All right. Abbie, this is a question for you then. How was dual enrollment? We have a question just simply, can you tell us more about it? What classes did you take? And could you tell everybody what dual enrollment is if anybody doesn't know? I can help you out.
Yeah, for sure. So through Wooten, you go to the University Associated Grove, which is right down the street. So my senior year, I took it. You would go, I think it was Monday, Wednesday, Friday, every Monday, Wednesday, Friday at 9:05 a.m. And the bus would take you over there. And then you'd sit in a class. It'd probably be about like 20 kids or something. My first semester, I took business, and that was actually really helpful because with my major, industrial systems engineering, it's kind of more the business side of engineering. So it's good to have that like as a backside. And it was just a really interesting class. Our professor put us into groups, and we had to come up with like a business proposal. We did a whole presentation, and that's a lot of what my classes do, is just group work, group presentations. So you'll see that a lot in college. And then my second semester, I took marketing, which I was also interested in at the time. So it was very similar to business. And so that was also a good thing to have. I can't remember. Sorry, I lost my train of thought. But yeah, I would definitely recommend doing dual enrollment. I don't know about the other classes. Those are the only two. There are definitely more classes you can take. But I would definitely talk to Kathleen Carr and I don't know what it's called, but she was great with helping us with that, and she really can help students like put them where they should go, and she's just a great person to talk to about anything.
Yeah, and thank you for that. You took the words out of my mouth. Yeah, we do have Ms. Kath Carr, she's our college and career readiness support person. But she's in the Career Center. She's wonderful at helping students. I'm sure she has helped all of you all at some point in the college application process. She's a fantastic person to talk to. We also just hired a brand new dual enrollment coordinator. Her name is Ms. Suk-Yi Yong. So Ms. Yong, if you're looking on our website, and she's a wonderful person to talk to about dual enrollment. And then obviously all of the counselors at Wooten too are fantastic resources to be able to talk to you a little bit about the college application process and college selection process, and obviously choosing classes for next year and kind of maximizing your chances of getting into the college that you want to, right? But dual enrollment is a fantastic program, and it's a cool one to take advantage of. I also have a question asking about just all the variety of different extracurricular activities you all did in high school. Can we list some extracurricular activities that we participated in, please?
Yeah, so I mostly did sports. So I played basketball and lacrosse for Wooten, and then I played soccer on a rec league with a different team. So that's why I got my leadership. I was JV captain of the basketball team. So.
So like I mentioned before, I was involved in research outside of school, and then I also was part of this like teen news platform that me and a few of my friends founded. And then in school, I did Model UN, Science Olympiad, and then Ethics Club and French Honor Society.
I played field hockey in high school, and then I also was a part of a couple of the honor societies, patron ambassadors. I was the class president for a couple of years, and I also did some things with music outside of school, as well as a program that I worked on and volunteered at a couple hospitals. So.
I would say that I am a bit disappointed that I didn't do more in terms of different clubs. at Wooten. I know my sister, she was part of Patriot Ambassadors as well. But that was something that I probably should have done to just get more stuff under my belt, to get more leadership. But so I think Patriot Ambassador, my sister loved it. So I think that's also a very good thing to do.
And the sponsor for Patriot Ambassadors, by the way, is Ms. Anne-Marie Stepling and Ms. Meredith Lang. They're great people to email and talk to as well. Ms. Stepling teaches history, and Ms. Lang teaches Spanish. And while we're talking about all the various things that we can do extracurricular, the list of those opportunities are on the Wooten website. There's a big long list of clubs and other extracurricular activities that's pretty easily accessible. And I'll also say something that slipped my mind earlier, but we did talk about student service learning hours. And for those of you again wondering a little bit about that, especially getting SSL hours in the virtual world too, there actually are plenty of opportunities. But Mr. Chris Thompson is our SSL coordinator at school, and I believe that for those of you who are on Canvas right now at Wooten, there is actually a Canvas tile dedicated specifically to SSL. So I believe that Mr. Thompson sent an invite to everybody. So all you have to do is accept that invite, and it'll appear on your Canvas dashboard. But that's Mr. Chris Thompson as well. I am going to take just another pause to see if we have any other questions that are wanting to be asked. And I do have a couple last questions to ask everybody, but I want to pause just for a moment. So if anybody was thinking about typing a question or wanting to unmute and ask, I'll go ahead and do that. I have a good question that just came to me in the chat. We'll wait for just a moment.
What did you guys look for extracurricular? I mean, sorry, not extracurriculars. When you were looking for what colleges you wanted to apply?
Are we going to wait for questions, or should I?
No, go for it. I think that's
Okay.
a great answer. A great time to answer. Go for it, Rachel.
So something that was really important to me was school spirit. Obviously, I really looked for a program that catered to exactly what I wanted to study. And aside from that, though, I really looked for school spirit, and Georgetown has a lot of that in terms, like our basketball team is really fun to watch because our games are at Capital One Arena. And I also looked for schools that gave me the flexibility to, I guess, study a multitude of things. And I think what's really great about college is that now you get to study things that you really care about and are passionate about. And Georgetown has a good policy where you can major and minor in as many things as you want to. And I think that that was really important to me. And the location is also something that drew me there because it's a hub for anything political, but also medical. And that was something that I was looking to look for when I applied.
I think for me, I was really looking for community, and that's what really drew me to like Yale because of the residential college system. I really feel like community is really, really important at Yale, and I just like I really like that about it. I also really wanted to like be at a school where I didn't necessarily like always need to know what I'm studying. Like I feel like Yale is very much about like exploring a lot of different subjects, and I feel like going into the admissions cycle, like I didn't really know what I wanted to do, and I thought that like going to a school that was like really flexible and actually like encourage that. Like I think Yale really encourages like not always knowing what you want to do, like exploring and then like discovering yourself and discovering who you are and who like your friends are and who the people around you are, and like that's what made me really like it. And like I think something that really drew me to Yale was I went to one of their admissions Zooms, and they said like their motto was and like they really want to focus on like humanities and the sciences, like everything. And I like really wanted to go to a school where I didn't really always have to choose what I liked. Like I could do what like both.
Yeah, for me, I wanted to get out of Maryland. I did not want to stay in Maryland. I wanted to go out of state. So kind of making that out of state choice was easy for me. And plus, I wanted to, you know, kind of be my own person because, as I said, I'm a twin. So we've always had each other, and so we always rely on each other. And I wanted to be my own person. So going away from her really helped me to push myself into meeting new people and just having my own friend group and being myself. And I absolutely love the atmosphere at Virginia Tech. It's kind of in the middle of nowhere. It's in the town of Blacksburg. We're up in the mountains, but it's awesome. I love it. And so that was definitely one of the main things that I look for was getting out of state. But I wanted to stay close enough where it wasn't too far of a drive, but easy enough to come home if I wanted to. It's a 4-hour drive, so it's not bad. And then the other thing was, so I'm an engineering major, and I was interested in engineering, so I wanted to go to a school that was very good with that stuff. So
Great, thank you all. The question I got sent to me in the chat was, how did you deal with senioritis? I think that's a good question.
That's a tough one. I think I dealt with senioritis by like taking classes that I would enjoy and like wouldn't feel like a chore to me. But like I remember like I mentioned, like I was taking like physics and like multivariable calculus and like AP Lit and stuff, and like I don't know, those were just like classes that I genuinely like was interested in. And like yeah, the urge to like slack off did come a lot of times, but I think like you shouldn't really like you should look at it as like don't completely lose like sight of like yourself, and like, you know, if you worked hard all of high school, like why not work hard like the last semester too? Like don't just give it all up just because like you're going to this new place now. Like end it strongly so that like when you look back on high school and you look back on your senior year, like you can be like proud of yourself. Like, yeah, like I did that. So yeah, that's just kind of like how I looked at it. Obviously, like I'm just saying that now. Like there were a lot of times where I like also like slacked off, but ultimately, I think just have like goals for yourself. Like maybe like take a class where like you know you actually really like want to like learn from, and like that will encourage you not to like slack off.
yeah, I sorry Rachel. For me, oh my gosh, I just lost my train of thought. What was the question again?
How did you deal with senioritis, Abbie?
There it is. Yes. Senioritis is definitely very hard. For me, I would just, even though I didn't want to do the work, I would just do it. It was really hard, and I would say in college, the burnout happens every year, so you kind of get that more towards finals, and but yeah, I mean, you kind of just, you might get your work done late, but that's kind of just what I did. So
I think something that helped me was doing work with friends, because we're all kind of in the same boat, and I think it was encouraging to see that, you know, we were all going through the same thing, so you're not the only one who's really tired. But also it helps to be in a setting where you can actually like enjoy the work that you're doing, and if you're with your friends and like joking around and like doing your work together, I think that was really helpful for me.
Thank you. Can you each share how many colleges you applied to? And Nastaran and Rachel, I think there's an interest in knowing if COVID made you apply to more schools or less schools, or didn't really affect your decision.
So I think, I can't remember exactly how many I applied to. It was on the lower side. I think I only applied to 5 or 6 colleges. It really doesn't matter. I mean, I wouldn't apply to like only 3, but you don't have to apply to, let's say, 12 or something like that. Like you want to apply to the schools that you think that you could see yourself at, that you would actually enjoy, and that has the right programs for you. So it kind of just depends on the person, but yeah, I think I applied to 5 or 6.
I I did apply to 13. But for me, it was because financial aid was really, really important to my family. And I wanted, like, a lot of the schools I applied to were just like state schools where I thought I would like be able to get like a good amount of financial aid. Um, so yeah, I did apply to 13. I think that's around like a number that people in like non-COVID years might also uh, apply to. But I think it's really important to have like that like balance of like reach schools, target schools, safety schools, because I know a lot of my friends like applied to like two safety schools and then like all the Ivies, and then they ended up being like kind of disappointed when like they didn't get into as many as they wanted to. And I think just like for your own like I don't know, like it's really fun to get into like a good amount of schools. So like yeah, like apply to a good range in each of those categories.
Yeah, I agree fully with what Nastaran said. I think I applied to 11, and I think it's also really important to, I guess, a combination of both what Abbie and Nastaran said, apply to schools that you can really see yourself at and you think that you would really enjoy, but also schools that you can fit into each of those categories, because you never know with the college admissions process. So.
All right, I'm going to give one more break real quick to get any final questions in from our audience, and then I have one last question for you all as well. And of course, if there are questions, then you certainly may ask them. But my final question here, if we're kind of winding down, is we have a whole lot of again parents on the line here and students as well that are going to be thinking about college in the next year or two. And so the final question for you all is if you had some advice for students that are thinking about, again, going to college in the next year or two, or parents of students that are going to college in the next year or two, what's some advice that you would give them, either about the process of applying to colleges, about selecting them, about classes at Wooten, about experiences at Wooten? If you could kind of distill some of your thoughts into a bit of advice, I'm sure we would all love to hear it.
I think a piece of advice that I would give to people who have already applied from schools and are waiting to hear back is just to trust the process and also trust yourself, because everything ends up working out. And I think that in the moment it's really stressful because things may not always work out exactly as you planned, or you may hit some bumps in the road, but everything does work out. And I think that was really hard to remember during that time, but I just want to remind you again. And also, for people who are looking to apply to schools next year, I would say to start college apps really early, because senioritis and things like that do start to kick in. So if you can get a head start on those over the summer, you're going to set yourself up really well for senior year.
And I would say what my mom did that really helped, she set a deadline for me to finish all my applications. So I think it was October of my senior year, so that by the time the actual applications were due, I had already done them. They were all done, and I wasn't stressing about it right at the due date. So I would say to set a time frame where your student or whoever should just get all the applications done, all the essays done, not necessarily turned in, but a majority of it done by early in the semester.
I think my advice is to really just focus on like yourself and like what you're doing. I know like a lot of times during that time when you're going through the college admissions process, like everyone is kind of like comparing themselves to each other. And I would I would try to stay away from that, just because it's not really good for like mental health and other things. So really just focus on putting your best effort into your college admissions process. I also do agree, like getting a head start over the summer is really helpful. Like I know for me, I had my Common App done like before school started, and I was like that made me feel a lot better, just because like I didn't have to stress about that during the year. I also recommend applying to schools early, just so like you have like that kind of like like so that you have some options maybe that you've already gotten into, so you feel a little less stressed out for the regular admission cycle. And honestly, like, I think the best advice I can give is just to take, just to make sure you're still like enjoying your life while you're going through this process. Like, college isn't everything, and where you go to college doesn't define you as a person. So really make sure you're enjoying like your last 2 years of high school, because you're gonna look back at that time and you don't want to like think about it and just be like think about it as a time where you only worried about what college you were gonna get into, because you want to make sure you have like special memories from that time period too.
Absolutely. Sage advice from you all for sure. So before I let you go, there is one last question that I actually think that I can maybe take a stab at answering this. The question is, do you need a lot of APs to get admitted into a top 50 school? And while I'm not sure of a specific number that schools are looking at or anything else, I do know obviously that good schools look to see, as the panelists said before, that students are taking a nice rigorous course load, and APs would certainly fall into that category. I think it's important also to take a nice well-rounded course load as well, and so I think that there, many colleges and many top 50 colleges are looking for a variety of different APs as well, and I think that that's, you can throw in some science and math and some English in there, even serious scientists and engineers and all that are going to need to learn how to write. Or nowadays, to know how to program a bit. All three of you all mentioned a bit of Python and all of that. So I think that it's important to take some APs if you are up for it and if you are able to succeed at them. But I also think, just for what it's worth, I'll put in that mental health plug too. I don't think that it's so important that you need to take 7 APs every year, because you do need to be sane, right? I mean, you need to be well rested. You need to be able to do the things that make you happy too. So I think while APs are certainly important, and they can also get you a little bit of that jump start on college, right? With some college credit if you get a 4 or a 5. I think that they're important to show that you're taking a rigorous course schedule. Anyone want to add to that at all, or yeah?
Yeah, I mean, kind of going off of what you said, you don't have to take, other people, you might be able to take a lot of APs, and that's totally fine, but you don't have to take like 20 APs. I think I only took 4, and I'm actually ahead of my electives right now. So, you don't have to take a lot to get ahead in college. Also, well, the dual enrollment, again, did help with that too. But you really, if you can't take that many APs, I would not stress about it. I definitely recommend taking APs, and like Ms. Richardson said, to get a rigorous course schedule. But you don't want to overload yourself and overwork yourself. So I think a good number is totally fine.
I also would generally stay away from the mindset of doing something just for college. Like stay away from like, okay, I'm going to do this activity so that it looks good on my like college application. Like doing a lot of APs, like I don't necessarily know if like there's like a causation, like, between like taking a lot of APs and getting into a good college. I would say, like, for me at least, like I only took APs that like where I genuinely wanted to learn like a little bit beyond like what the honors or like regular classes would teach me. So I would recommend like take APs if you like are really genuinely interested in the subject and you want to maybe learn more about it than what the other 2 options have to offer.
Also, going back to what Mr. Hitchens said about being able to, like, not overloading yourself and being able to succeed in those classes, I think it's really important to remember not to lose sight of your, like, a good GPA as well. If taking a lot of APs comes at the cost of a GPA, I think I would recommend, like, against that. I think it's really important to maintain a good GPA, but also take classes that Nastaran said, like, you really care about, and that way you will be willing to put in the work for those classes.
All right, one last question, because I just got it in, and I do think it's a good question. And then I promise we'll let everybody go. But Besides personal research, what resources do you recommend that helped you pick colleges that you applied to? Were there things that you were looking at or resources at Wooten that helped you?
Me,
I guess I looked.
oh, sorry. Go ahead, Nashan. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you. I looked a lot at like financial aid and like how much like school like scholarship opportunities at different schools and like just like how much financial aid I would be able to get. And I also like went to a lot of like their like webinars or whatever that they hosted. I thought those were pretty helpful. And just in general, like if you have a clear idea of like what your major is, like there's a lot of lists out there for like what the top schools for each major are. And that was also helpful for me in terms of like deciding where I want to go.
I know that a lot of schools have webinars that tell you guys about, like just the general school life, but also specifics on the major. And also, it's really helpful to reach out to an admissions like counselor and ask them questions if you have them, because a lot of times, if you don't know a current student at that school, like admissions counselors are there to answer your questions. And I think that was really helpful for me when I had questions that I couldn't really find a direct answer to on a website or on a webinar.
And kind of going off of what Rachel just said, I'm Miss Carr. She's absolutely the best. I would highly, highly recommend talking to her because she really helped me kind of navigate through what colleges did I want to look at, what did I want to study, and she was awesome with that. So I'd highly recommend going to her. But for me, it was also I didn't really look at a lot of like resources per se, but it was more so like word of mouth, because one of my close friends went to Virginia Tech and she loved it. And another one of the Wooten teachers, I actually am blanking on his name right now, but I was in his class and he would always talk about Virginia Tech. And so that's kind of how I knew that I wanted to go there. So a lot of it is word of mouth, and also counselors are also great with that. But yes, definitely talk to Miss Carr. She is amazing.
Yeah,
It was definitely Mr. O'Neill, Abby. He talks about he talks about Virginia Tech all the time. Anyway, sorry, Nastaran, go ahead.
Oh no, I was just gonna add on to like the Miss Carr part of what Abby just said. Like Miss Carr is really, really helpful. I remember when I was writing my Common App, I actually reached out to her over the summer and she sent it to like an admissions officer at UGA that she was connected with, and he gave me like really helpful advice on how I could make it better. And like so like Miss Carr like is really connected like that. So I would definitely reach out to her. And also like Wooten has a really extensive alumni network. And like I'm sure if you like reach out to Miss Carr and like you're interested in the particular school, like I'm sure she knows people who go there and like could maybe connect you with them.
All right, everyone. Well, I think that's going to do it. We're not getting any more questions in, and we've touched on all the things that I wanted to chat about. So I would just say thank you, everybody, for joining us tonight, and thank you in particular to Rachel, Nastaran, and Abby for being with us. I think this is incredibly helpful. It is lovely to see you all again. I wish you nothing but a relaxing break and a fun rest of your time at school and beyond. So thank you all very much, and that'll do it.